The session that we're moving into talks about unlocking the true potential of retail DOOH media. Our speaker today is an experienced, passionate, agile, and inspiring leader with a proven track record of growing top line UK and international revenue, both as an individual contributor and through effective team leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, MBA qualified, he comes with over 25 years experience in the media, digital, e-commerce and technology industry. He's going to come up onto stage with your applause. Managing Director, Alight Media London, Mr. Dan Durling. Huge round of applause.
Wow. Can we just start? Can I just do a quick check? Thumbs up at the back if you can hear me. Everyone, thumbs up at the back? Fantastic. I'd like to start by saying a massive thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm Dan Durling. I am Managing Director of Alight Media. Alight Media are a digital out-of-home and retail media business. We are based in the UK, and we were founded 5 years ago. But before I go any further, I just want to say a huge thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for this opportunity. I've spoken to a few of you already, but if anyone wants to talk to me about anything that I discuss over the next 15 to 20 minutes, then please come and find me afterwards. So I'm going to be about 15 or 20 minutes. I'm going to be sharing my views on unlocking the true potential of retail, digital, out-of-home media. And I'm going to do that by framing it around my experience at Alight and a proposition that we launched 9 months ago called Mixer Media. Before I go any further, I want to share with you a fact that took me by surprise. Retail media has overtaken global out-of-home spend. Retail media that we think of as nascent, as new. Not very long ago, it was sponsored ads on Amazon, has already overtaken global out-of-home spend. So let's just look at that. So global out-of-home spend, everyone in this room should be hugely proud of these numbers we've seen, in contrast to lots of other channels, consistent growth over a number of years. But layer on retail media and you see two very, very interesting things. One is that retail media overtook out-of-home 7 years ago in 2017. And secondly, by 2025, it's going to be nearly 4 times the size. And I don't say that to scare anyone. I don't say that as a boast of retail. I say it because I think it's a massive opportunity for everyone in this room. So before we go any further, let's just establish what is retail media. And Colin Lewis, the esteemed writer and speaker, he defined it as the digital advertising within a retailer's e-commerce website and apps, and increasingly the whole of the retailer's environment whenever and wherever shoppers come into contact with a brand from sofa to store. It's quite a mouthful, actually. I think of it as the ability that advertising has to influence whether the hand goes left or the hand goes right. At the last opportunity to influence a shopper, the advertising can influence whether that hand goes left or right. I want to do a brief introduction into retail media. It really falls into 3 categories. It falls into on-site, off-site, and in-store. I'm going to take each of those in turn. So on-site is advertising on a retailer's platform. Think sponsored ads on Amazon. So off-site, think of that as digital display on the open web or on different media channels or on social, but using retailers' data. A good example of that in America, in the US, would be Walmart and their partnership with Disney. As a Hulu or Disney Plus subscriber, I'm being served an ad because of Walmart's retail data. They know that I'm a lapsed spender, a lapsed buyer of a particular product. And what perhaps we're most interested in here, and what I want to talk to you about, is in-store. So digital media products in bricks and mortar stores. Don't forget that for most major retailers, 90% of their traffic is still in store. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Important to note, retail media is totally underpinned by first-party data, which I'm going to talk more about in a bit. But today, the point of the presentation is to talk about in-store. So digital out-of-home within in-store environments. Another fact that I think is surprising to everybody, 4 out of 10 retailers plan to introduce in-store networks. I think this is a US number, but I'm fascinated to know what it's like with your experience in India. And I think that's led by 3 things. I think it's led by the fact that you think about retailers, their margins, especially supermarkets, are less than 3%. The second factor is that a lot of major retailers have set up an e-com site, and that's expensive. It's really, really hard to make a return on that. And thirdly, what I think we probably know in this room is that advertising is a high-margin business. And advertising can offset those first 2. And I think at the board level, in every retailer around the world, they are having a conversation about this. And what I think is fascinating about this fact is this concept that a retailer will become a media owner. And I think that's already happening. And we in this room know how hard that is. That's what we do. Most of us are media owners, and especially digital screen with media owners. And that brings with it an enormous amount of challenge. I'm sure most of you will share the fact that if you're to do this right, you have to get the hardware and installation right. You need to get the CMS player. You need to be integrated with programmatic. You need to understand the audience. How do you work out footfall? How do you build that into targeting? And finally, the reporting and diagnostics. How do you maintain screens? How do you make sure you deliver what you say you're going to deliver? All stuff that we know is very, very difficult. So as I said at the start, I'm going to frame this idea of unlocking the potential around the experience we've had with Stonegate. Stonegate is the UK's largest hospitality business. A few facts about Stonegate. They operate 4,500 venues in the UK. They have 100 million annual footfall. They pour a lot of beer, in fact, so much that you could fill up 32 Olympic swimming pools, which seems an apt description given what's going on in France right now. But most importantly, they've launched a digital screen network. In the UK, when we get to October, they will be at 4,500 screens in 1 year. We believe that is the fastest layering of screens in the UK in the history of UK media. Every venue that has mixer screens will have 3 behind the bar and then 3 set strategically around the venue. And most importantly, it's not just a screen network. They've launched a loyalty app. If you think about your supermarket loyalty app, if you have one, that works in a very, very similar way. And that offering, that digital screen network and the app, they combine to create what we have called Mixer, our new media proposition. And I'm going to show you that and what it looks like in practice with this video. Thank you for the applause. Right. Unlocking the potential. So I framed this through our experience on Mixer in 3 ways. I'm going to look at the challenges that we've faced, the successes, which there have been a lot, and then the 3 opportunities at the end. The challenges we face. A really fundamental one. Who do we sell this to? Who do we go and sell Mixer to? Retail media started as sponsored ads on Amazon. The main metric here is a ROAS, a return on ad spend. For any brand on Amazon, they were focused on if I spend $100 on advertising and I get $400 back in sales, well, that's a result. That's a ROAS of 4. Very, very bottom of the funnel. It was all about the performance. By contrast, it's out of home. It has built itself on the ability to build the biggest brands in the world. It's one-to-many nature, in combination with its ability to drive reach and frequency, means it's the natural solution to build brand awareness and consideration. And that's proved an issue for us, because the planning and buying of out-of-home and digital out-of-home sits with a media agency and a poster specialist, whereas retail media sits as a completely separate team. If we go to Unilever and speak to their agency, their TV and their out-of-home is planned and bought at Mindshare. They're retail media, so the focus on promotions and point of sale is often a completely different agency. So we're talking to people above the line. The retailers and actual retail agencies sit below the line, and that's a challenge for us. We've had to try and take agencies on this journey with us. We talk to a media agency or a poster specialist about retail media. They say, speak to the search team. We speak to a retail agency about a screen network. They've no idea what we're talking about. That proves a challenge. Not only is it a challenge at the agency level, it's a challenge with brands. Brands are structured in a way that there are multiple budgets. The media and the brand team will have one budget. They're interested in media metrics, awareness, reach, frequency, impacts. The supplier team or the trade team don't even understand that language. All they're interested in is sales. So again, that's quite a challenge. And it's not only who we sell to, but what we sell. And this is perhaps apt because of some of the conversations we had yesterday. Most of the poster specialists and the media agencies that we're used to dealing with will trust a JIC, an industry currency. In the UK, Root is our version for out of home. Your Move in Australia, or Data Forward, whatever it is in India. I've now completely forgotten the name. Anyway, Radar for radio is trusted. Barb for TV is trusted. In the UK, Mixer, because it's in-store media, it's not picked up by Root. So we've had to use first-party data. And we can do it because we've got EPOS data, we've got point-of-sale data, we've got Wi-Fi data, and we have the app data. We've had to build it ourselves. And that proves a challenge. Is it credible? Do our customers believe us with that data because it's not a joint industry currency? And does it work with the rest of their media channels? That's been a challenge. So what I'm more interested in talking to you about are the successes that we've had. So endemic brands. And endemic, for anyone who's not aware, means a brand that is bought within the venue. Think beer, wine, spirits, soft drinks, or snacks. And we've had success with an enormous amount of global brands. Hopefully many of those you'll recognize. And the reason we've had so much success is because we can prove the sales uplift. So for every endemic brand we work with, a sales effectiveness study is offered as standard. For 6 weeks before the campaign goes live, we look at 100 venues where the ads are running and 100 venues where they're not, the control, and then when the campaign runs, we continue to monitor the sales, and as you would expect, advertising works. And you see a sales uplift. And in fact, with Jameson's, the Irish whiskey, we saw a 33% uplift. With Chambord, the liqueur, we saw a 40% uplift. And actually, With WKD, which is an Alco pop, I think might be only in the UK, I don't know if you have that, 44% increase, which is absolutely staggering. And not only have we had success with brands you can buy in the venue, but also near endemic and non-endemic. And let me just explain those. Near endemic, there's an association with the venue. It is relevant with the venue. Think Apple Pay, which you would use to go and buy the drinks. Think Uber at the end of a night. You're at a mixer venue, you've been with your friends for 3 hours of an evening, you need to get home, then Uber's a natural fit. Many of our bars and pubs are sports bars, so gambling is a huge area for us. But it's also, think about it as non-endemic. So these we think of as consumer brands. Mixer, a venue is a place where young people, which are notoriously hard to target, will go, meet en masse, and start a conversation. And as a brand, we've had a huge amount of success saying, right, those young people are having conversations about what they watch, where they go on holiday, what they wear. So it's fantastic for these brands to be right at the start of the conversation. We've had a huge amount of success. One example I just want to highlight is this use of first-party data. Actually, we know because of the app data that we have a high propensity in one particular event or several venues where we know that people are male, 18 years old, and probably shouldn't. It's not great to know this, but they visit the pub 3 times a week. There's an assumption they've got a lot of time on their hands. That was really useful data for an army recruitment campaign that's been running for the last 4 weeks. I think these brands, it's full motion, we run standard 15 seconds, and I think the ads, you'd agree, look absolutely fantastic. A quick story about Baileys. Baileys is an Irish liqueur. I don't know whether you have it here. It's quite a curious drink, really popular at Christmas, with Diageo owned. They were running an ad in mixer venues where they're making a chocolate cocktail. It's a version of an espresso martini. And we were out with the Stonegate team, and the head of media's phone kept going. And it was bar managers saying, we keep being asked for this cocktail, but we don't know what it is. In other words, that says 2 things to me. People are viewing the ads, they're seeing the screens, and secondly, they are making an action off the back of it. And we can get really creative. So Stella Artois is a Belgian beer, and it's a sponsor of Wimbledon. And Wimbledon has been ran about 3 weeks ago in London, big tournament. They wanted to give away a pint of Stella every time the rain stopped play. So we used a weather feed with a trigger. So every time it rained in London, across the UK, it triggered this ad to run, and you could go and redeem a voucher to get your free Stella. I can say right now, anyone who's been to London or been to Wimbledon will know that that happens quite a lot. It rains all the time. So look, we've had some challenges. This is the first time this has ever been done in the UK, but we've seen so much success as well. I want to talk about 3 opportunities. One I'm going to repeat. I'm certain, I know, that in boardrooms right the way across every retailer, this conversation is happening. People are looking at other retailers and seeing what they're doing at Walmart and such like, and Tesco in the UK, and they are having this conversation. So this is an opportunity for us. Secondly, this, I suppose, is relevant for the conversation that we had yesterday around the Indian market. Standardization is key. You've got thousands of retailers all trying to do it their own way. We're very lucky in the UK that ISBA is the trade body for advertising. And they have worked with their advertisers that they work on behalf of, with the IAB UK, with Group M and OMG, and several consultancies to create the responsible media retail framework. A little bit like out of home in India. If it's so disparate and done so many different ways, it makes it hard to buy. So this piece of work is very, very important. And finally, this idea of through-the-line media planning. If it's kept separate within agencies and kept separate within brands, it won't take off the way that we think it will. So it's incumbent on us to help both agencies and brands with that journey. And the brands that we speak to, they're already doing this. They are already restructuring themselves because they can see this as a huge, huge opportunity. Thank you for listening. There's been quite a lot of information in a short space of time. I hope that was useful. I'm around all afternoon, all evening for any questions, and hopefully there might be a few questions now that hopefully I can answer.
Thank you so much. Ms. Shwetal Basu, Chief Marketing Officer, Shopper Stop, kindly join us on stage. We're waiting for those questions, and I know you got them ready. 3 questions that you've handpicked right now from the multitude that must have come across. One of them walks away with 10,000 rupees. The Q&A brought to you by MSMA.
Hello. Lovely to meet you.
Okay, so we had some 25 questions coming in. And one of my first choice, and being a marketer myself, even I'm confused on these pieces, so even I would love to know, what matrix should retailers use to measure the effectiveness of their DOH campaigns? This comes from Rajiv Das.
Let me read that. What metrics should retailers use to measure the effectiveness of their digital out-of-home campaigns? Okay, I think, as always, it depends on the objective. And I know that's a cop-out, but I think it depends what you're trying to do. Ultimately, most of them are trying to sell more product. So it does come down to sales. But everyone knows that's not necessarily always the job of out-of-home. Now, I think I've shown you on here that we can be very, very good, especially for supplier brands, at being able to drive sales. But then for those brands that aren't supplied, I think you can see that by driving awareness, by driving a propensity, that we are seeing a huge amount of success with other metrics that sit at the top of the funnel.
Thanks, Dan. In fact, I've chosen 4 questions for this. The second question is from Yuvraj Agarwal, Laksh Media. You spoke a lot about in-store retail media, so it's a question related to that. How can in-store retail media effectively integrate digital and physical touch points to enhance the overall shopping experience and drive customer engagement, sales in today's competitive retail environment? Let me repeat the question.
No, I'm going to have a look at it as well.
Yeah,
how can it store, just because, how can it store? That's a really tough question. I'm going to say that's probably, I can't imagine there'll be better questions than that. How will it do it? It's not easy. I mean, the first step is put the screens in, measure the effectiveness of those screens. I think the honest answer is I'm going to have to think about that one. There's probably, in fact, whoever asked that question, come and find me afterwards. We're going to have to have a longer conversation on that one.
Okay, do you want me to move to the next question?
Yeah.
Okay, so most forums, there's a lot of this discussion on first-party data and third-party data, so hence data remains one of my favorite questions. The next one comes from Shahul Hamid, and here's his question. How can brands leverage the power of combining first-party data and third-party data in retail DOH media to create highly contextual and engaging advertisements?
Wow, these are tricky. I mean, the first job you've got to do is make sure that first-party data is available in the right place, and often it's a technology partner who can bring that together, and that's not normally a retailer's bread and butter. That's not what they do. So it's normally working with the right partner who often can bring that, the live ramps of this world, you can bring that data together to make sure that you can start to see consumers. So you want to see, one, You want to be able to see what those people are buying, which is hugely important, and that's the first-party data that is the most useful. But you then want to combine that with what you can see of them going around their daily business. If you can do that in a test environment, which I know can be done, we haven't done it yet, then you can see absolutely fantastic results.
Awesome. Personalization, again, is one of the most trending topics across when it comes to marketing and advertising, and along with data. So here's my next question. That's one of my favorites. That's from Nikita Marcus. How can personalization and targeted messaging be incorporated into retail DOH media? What are the emerging trends in the retail OH media, and how can brands capitalize on them? Let me repeat this question once again. How can personalization and targeted messaging be incorporated into retail DOH media? What are the emerging trends in the next retail OH media, and how are brands capitalizing it?
Thank you for that question. So I think one thing has got to be made really important. The difference between digital advertising in display on mobile or on your PC is it's one-to-one. And what we're still talking about one-to-many. So and the only way I can answer this is through our experience. We are still looking at trends. So I don't know, even though I might know that one person has walked in and has a high propensity to do something, I can't track them with one screen. What I'm looking at is trends. So does this venue see an awful lot of this type of person? And that is incredibly useful to brands. Remember, it is still one-to-many. So we don't yet have the ability to serve one ad to one person within a venue. We're looking at trends using that data. We know that this venue, because of this location, because of where it is, because of who comes in, has a high propensity for something, and that's why we're able to target that way. That is a very, very good question.
Thanks,
and even though I was stumped with the second one, I might have to give that one as the best question. But I do still want the person who asked me the second question to come and see me.
So that's Yuvraj Agarwal, DOOH Media Limited. Yuvraj, can we have you on stage, please?
Congratulations. Kindly join us. Center stage.
Welcome
Ms. Basu.
to the world of MSMA.
Ms.
where
Basu, kindly
simple
join us
glance
center
sparks
stage.
a narrative. Every screen
Let's
is
have
a
the check
portal
being
to
brought on.
imagination. Dominating the mall advertising landscape in India, MSMA boasts the largest network of digital and static displays. MSMA, my world, my media.
Thank you. Well done, well done. Thank you very
And
much.
we've
Thank
got
you
a
very
beautiful memento. Can we please have that being brought on? Ms. Basu, if you'll do us the honors and hand this over to Mr. Dan Durling.